Good morning, everyone. We are here on Leaders Lounge, and I am going to be bringing on a very exciting guest who is going to be sharing fantastic information. His name is David Frank Gomes, and he is a mindfulness practitioner. I am just trying to bring him on right now, so give me one moment to bring him on so that you can learn a great mindfulness tips from him and how to put mindfulness into your everyday life and develop a practice that fits into your busy, full lives. Okay, just one moment. Let's do this. Oh, woohoo! Hang on, he's coming on up out of the lobby and into the live. Good morning, David.
Yes.
How are you this morning?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I am great. Thank you for joining us. I want to introduce you formally now that you are here. I just told them all about the exciting guest that was coming on. This is David Frank Gomes. He is one of the #1 life coaches in all of Vancouver. He specializes in leadership. And even more important, what he's bringing us today is he is a mindfulness teacher and practitioner. And I found out that he's been doing this for 30 years. So he definitely is an expert on the topic. I had the privilege of working with him. When you guys start to learn from him and get to know him, you're really, really going to know the wealth of information he brings, but also his presence is just wonderful to be around. And you can tell that he has a deep practice in mindfulness. And you're in luck today because we know you're all busy and doing many things. And he's going to share what mindfulness is and also how we can have some mindfulness in our everyday life, even when it is full. So welcome, David. Thank you for being with us.
It's nice to be here. Lovely. And I brought my mindfulness bell too, so we can start with that. Start with just listening to the sound of the bell.
Okay.
Before we begin. This was a bell that was brought to me by my brother from Tibet.
Okay.
So it's a handmade bell. It's just a nice invitation to begin mindfully. Yeah. It's a nice reminder just to bring your mind back to the present moment. That's really what mindfulness is. It's just a relationship to the present moment where you're not adding anything and you're not taking anything away. If you wanted to put it in its simplest terms. So mindfulness is not about thinking, it's not about interpreting, it's not about evaluating. It's an awareness practice. It's a non-judgmental way of kind of showing up in the present moment. And from that place, then you may take whatever action is necessary. So it's quite a simple practice. Now there's also a meditation component to it. We're not going to get into that today. Today, I think it would be more interesting just to discuss sort of everyday mindfulness. Like how do we navigate through the world?
That would be so valuable. I was speaking with a few people over the last few days, and everyone was mentioning how much they have on their plate and just how everything comes at once. And so being able to implement some mindfulness within the chaos or the fullness of our lives would be wonderful to learn how to do that. And maybe you can share, you described a bit about what it is for the people who may know a little bit about it. Someone who's never done it, how would you describe it or what it is?
Well, you know, the interesting thing for me anyways is mindfulness isn't a technique, it's a relationship. So you don't actually have to know or not know how to do it. In fact, you're probably doing it automatically at certain times. Babies do it. They're very mindful, right? When they want to go to the bathroom, they go to the bathroom. When they want to cry, they cry. When they want to laugh, they laugh. They're completely present where they are. They're not worrying about the future. They're not thinking about the past. Animals are very mindful. And if you, when a baby is born, people become very mindful. Time stands still. There's just this incredible moment unfolding. People that are in love often become very mindful. They're very present with the person. They're sort of taken over, and the moment becomes very clear. Sitting in front of a beautiful sunset, or I remember the first time, I think I was at the MoMA in New York, and I saw Starry Nights up close, like the real painting, and it was just like, it just took my breath away. It was just like, everything just sort of became just, I was in the now. So these external things can bring us into presence. But really what it is just, it's a gentle way of sort of asking yourself at any given moment, like, what am I paying attention to? So you're dropping the kids off at school, you're late for work and a meeting, and there's little, Sally getting out. Now this is a moment, but maybe your mind is, you're already like 45 minutes into this meeting, shit, this is going to be a disaster, I'm not prepared. And so the child is leaving, where is the mother's head, mind? That's a moment where you can practice mindfulness, right? So you realize, what am I paying attention to? Like in this moment, the only thing that matters is saying goodbye. I'm being present, because this is all I have. So if we're living in the future, it's often an imaginary future, or it's something we hope will happen, so it can become very painful. Or something in the past that we had wanted to happen but didn't happen. And so we're playing it over and over in our mind, as if we play the tape over enough, somehow the outcome we want will occur. So mindfulness asks you, how are you paying attention where you are? Mm-hmm. That's it. I wish it was a more complicated practice. I could charge more money to talk about it. Mindfulness is a container. It's a way you pay attention. And you could think of it like being in a dark room, a huge dark room with the most exquisite pieces of art and objects in half of the room. And the other half of the room is horrible stuff, just yucky stuff. And your attention is like the spotlight. And so you're in this dark room, and whatever you're looking at, that's what you see. So in mindfulness, what we're trying to do is gently sort of ask ourselves, where am I? What am I thinking about? Am I actually here with my loved one, or am I? And this is a sort of a process. Like it can seem very difficult at first, but when you combine it with, say, a meditation practice, it can become a way of life. And over time, you find you're not missing out on some of the moments because you're actually where you are.
That's what I really understood from what you were saying there, that if we're not mindful and we're missing many moments of life. And also by being mindful, we can actually reduce a lot of stress we have because we're living in the past or we're living in the future. But mindfulness helps us probably reduce a lot of stress and capture more moments in our lives that are really important.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these little tiny, beautiful, exquisite moments, we pass them by day after day after day. And then suddenly somebody's going, oh my God, like I've worked with clients who said things like, I missed most of my child's upbringing. I was too busy. And, these are things you can't get back. But what is stress, essentially? It's resistance. Mm-hmm. It's a resistance to what's going on. It's like, it's a dissatisfaction, like, it isn't quite right. It should be different, but it isn't. So in mindfulness, we don't play that game. We're not arguing. So we're freed up to go, okay, this happened. it doesn't mean that every moment shows up and it's just all beautiful and full of, glittering fairies. The moments don't show up like that.
Yeah.
But if we can accept the way it has shown up, then we're much more resilient in the present and able to sort of say, okay, what's next? And then swing into action. So I think it makes you more effective, just as a contented, happy human, because you're not busy arguing with reality all the time. There's so much of that. We don't realize it. But if you look around, everyone knows that person who just complains about everything, right? That's resistance. It's like somehow life should always be different than it is. And so it's a very interesting practice because it's a bare bones practice, right? Like if you really practice it, there's no escaping. This is it. Like this moment is it. And from this moment, I can step off and make whatever choice I have to make. But if you look at your life, you'll find you make much better choices, much more effective, more loving, compassionate, kind, when you're coming from a place of, gentle relaxation rather than constriction and tension. But people get used to it, so they don't. Oftentimes we're so unconscious, we're on autopilot, we're actually not realizing that we're kind of tensed up.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real benefit, and at times it's very difficult. It's not an easy practice all the time.
It isn't. And I think it's important because what I'm understanding from you, and tell me if this is correct, that in addition to us, being present, and mindfulness is about being present in the moment, I really like what you said there about it's not about judging and about accepting. Like it's just, and about how we have tension if we're always resisting or judging or, fighting what the moment is. So is acceptance of the moment part of mindfulness, a big part of it?
Yeah, I would say it is. It's kind of like, throughout the day, we tend to carry around these label guns, and so we're automatically sort of almost instantly labeling everything. And we're labeling everything sort of on the two sides. This is good. This is bad. I like this. I don't like this. This is wrong. This is right. She should do this. He should do that. So now this becomes an automatic. So every time we reach a situation, we're just automatically, right, putting label on. And I get it. It's a real world. You have likes and dislikes. But mindfulness isn't about that. It actually is about this gentle acceptance. And from this place of acceptance, then you make adjustments. So it's not like acceptance means you're a yes robot. It's like I am a yes robot. It's not like that. But it's a willingness to allow the moment to be as it is. To be willing rather than fighting and resisting at every moment. And this willingness sort of creates sort of an open-heartedness. It's one of the benefits. It's sort of the heart softens, it opens, and it's more available, right?
Yeah.
Because how do you be available and open during some of these very painful things that we go through?
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said there about how you can live more effectively, have more clarity as well, like what mindfulness gives people. Like take a top CEO or a busy career professional, male or female or whoever it is. How does mindfulness improve their life?
Well, I think mindful people are people who are paying attention. And if you're going to be at the top of your game, you're somebody who needs to be paying attention. Paying attention to the bottom line, sure, but also, I think we're seeing a shift in our workplaces in the way we are sort of reimagining the workplace. And so if you're a manager, a leader, CEO, I mean, it's very important that you are paying attention to the single most important resource, which is your humans, your human beings, right?
Yeah.
So we're not robots. And so I think a mindful leader is a leader who's aware, who's paying attention, who's noticing, and who's sort of showing up in a way that allows people to be themselves. It's difficult to be a leader sometimes, because oftentimes as you climb up the corporate ladder, you start to live in a bit of an echo chamber, right? So you might be dealing with other C-suite executives, and sometimes it's you get into a bit of a zone, a bit of a kind of a closed universe, right? And so that can be quite dangerous. And that's an example, I think, of the sort of unconsciousness that we see in a lot of workplaces. You know, I mean, why are people so, disengaged? You know, I keep hearing from HR professionals about the high level of disengagement, and the stress and overloads and the work, the cell phone that never gets turned off. These are all aspects of mindlessness, like where we're never where we are. We're always somewhere else, right?
Yes.
So I just think it's a foundational practice. I think anyone who becomes more mindful becomes a happier human being, and that makes you a better leader.
It absolutely does. And you have a pretty cool mindfulness practice do you want to share with everyone? And I think what you're going to share with us, people can find what works for them, because it can be a very simple everyday practice.
Yeah, for sure. And there's many ways to sort of integrate this sort of gentle awareness. And it doesn't mean that every moment you're not like somewhere else. I mean, we're human beings, but what I try and do is bake in sort of practices that help remind me, right? So remembrance is an important thing. It's because we're often getting hijacked, say, by emotions. We're here, and then all of a sudden the situation happens, and we get hijacked. We get really angry, really stressed, or really anxious. And so, that's happening a lot. And so once you're hijacked, the truth is, how soon can you recover, right? For me, success is about recovery. It's not about not failing. It's just about how quickly can you recover from a situation, and how quickly can you close the gap. And so very mindful people are able to close the gap. Like something comes up and they're like, oh, wow, I'm angry. And then they're like, whoa, hold on. Okay. Yes, this is not pleasant, but I'm going to look at it from this open-heartedness. Okay, now I know what to do. So what I try to do is build in remembrance practices. You're trying to remind yourself, right? Because when you're hijacked, you forget. And then you have to wait till you sort of wake up and go, oh, God, I just spent half an hour, in a very bad place. So one of the things I do is I actually have this bell, and it's at my front door. And I never leave the house without ringing it. I call it the doorway practice. And so before I leave the house, I ring the bell and I look at a picture of my teacher. We have this sort of beautiful little display case that has all kinds of, little interesting knickknacks and things from our travels. And it's like a gentle reminder of all the good things. And because every doorway is, you're leaving something and you're entering something else. This is a portal for mindfulness. Or if I'm sitting and I stand up, that's a transformation. Something has changed. That's a portal for mindfulness. You're at a stoplight, the red light. That's a portal in for mindfulness. You could actually go, oh, okay, here I am. And so the doorway practice is interesting because every time you leave somewhere, I don't know if I'm ever coming back. Maybe I won't. So it's actually an opportunity to just remind yourself, here I am in this beautiful place, and now I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere else. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that. And I find it very helpful because sometimes people are always rushing out the door, and you just become so mindless that you're like this gerbil, and at the end of the day, you're sort of like you did a bunch of stuff, but you almost can't remember any of it. You know?
Yeah. And it is more enjoyable when you are present.
Yeah.
You experience and view life differently. And I love what you just shared about the doorway practice, because I can see something very similar, or a version of that being really powerful for people to put in their day. My sister used to be a nurse on a very stressful ward, and she would have a practice that as soon as she took off her hospital clothes, she left everything she experienced there. And as soon as she walked through the doors, she left it behind. So the energy of whatever happened that day didn't go with her. And, whether you're a mom or, someone going through a stressful situation, or a career professional, top executive, someone, having financial struggles, I think this mindfulness piece can be so important of, okay, you've got all these struggles and these circumstances. Let's go through this door, leave it all behind, and be present in the moment. Or I just think it can really help reduce a lot of stress for people and view life and experience life much better. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's relevant. It's a practice that you can practice it with everything. Like there's nothing you can't transform by mindfulness. There's nothing you can't work with. From your greatest struggle to your greatest joy. It's the same on both sides, negative and positive. Like even like we have a positive experience, and in some senses we try and hold on to it as if we could. So mindfulness is a bare bones practice because it kind of says life is impermanent. Like the present moment, what does that even mean? Like even that's elusive.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The present moment is like when the future comes, and people are often spending their whole lives sort of planning for the future. It doesn't exist, because when the future comes, it's going to come as now. Like this is the yesterday I was thinking about planning this. Like I can't wait to do this thing. It's here. The future arrived, and it's now. So it's a subtle point, but the more you can sort of stay grounded in this sort of awareness, the more you kind of deeply experience the things that are happening, and you start to realize, wow, that's a sacred moment because it's never coming again.
Yeah.
Quite that way, and I think about this with my dog Biscuit. He's getting old now, and he's got an injury, and some of the things that brought me great joy in the past we can't do anymore. And so mindfulness sort of asks you to open your heart to that. It's like, it's so bittersweet, but beautiful. It's like, here's this beautiful being. We've enjoyed all these experiences, but now one of them's gone. We can't run anymore. We can't go on these long walks. So mindfulness tells me, accept it, and enjoy the moment you're with him, because it's so special now, and everything is always in transition, right? We forget that because we get into these little bubbles, especially in the digital age, right?
Yes, that's a great example. I know people watching would want to know, okay, I want to learn more about mindfulness. Tell us a little bit about how they could learn more from you, or how they can get in touch with you.
They could visit my website, and that's davidfrankgomes.com. And I have quite an extensive article on mindfulness there, or they could listen to a radio program I did on it. That's a good sort of foundational kind of intro. The way I integrate mindfulness into my practice, into the people I'm working with when I'm coaching, is it's very everyday. Like it's not, I am creating a course, but mindfulness is most effective when you use it in your everyday life with everyday things, right? It's not it's not a concept. It's a practice. It's a way of showing up. And so how I do it in the work I do with my clients is I just kind of integrate it into everything. It just becomes this sort of point of contact, you could say, for all the work we're doing. It's the foundation of the work. And then over time, as people have someone to work with, it's much easier to work with a facilitator if you're trying to sort of analyze something in your life that isn't working and trying to stay mindful about it. Because that's why a lot of people come to coaching initially. It's because there's something they want to make better. And then they're not even thinking about mindfulness. But mindfulness is the way that makes stuff better. Like, it is the practice. So that was a bit of a long-winded answer, but
so they can visit your website to get in touch with you. You have a really cool course that is in creation that you're going to be offering for people on mindfulness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can stay in touch with you and follow you when that's available through your website, social media.
Yeah. Or if anyone in an organization wanted to learn more about mindfulness, I do presentations. So, but there's many wonderful books out there too, and I think it's a really wonderful practice. It's worth exploring. And if you're curious about meditation, it's another wonderful way to sort of experience mindfulness. So it's so valuable. And I feel like it's one thing to talk about this stuff, and I know it can seem a bit abstract. It seems abstract to me. I've been practicing for a long time. I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning. But I think when you have a direct experience, like when you're willing to sort of try something and learn and have an experience of it, it's sort of, then you sort of go, oh, I get it. And mindfulness is like that. You can talk about it forever, and I could give you a laundry list of all the things it does and all the research and the science. But to be honest, I'm not so interested in that. I'm interested in people having direct personal experience and going, yes, this is improving the quality of my life, the quality of my relationships, and even the way I feel about myself. And that's when people make the shift, when they actually have the experience.
Yes. You've given us so many great nuggets and morsels about what mindfulness is, how we can implement it in our day. I encourage all of you who are watching to reach out to David, whether you want to bring him into a group, to your family, to your business, and learn more about mindfulness and how it can help you as a professional, how it can help you in your everyday life, reduce stress. And even if you want to learn just for yourself, he's a very powerful mindfulness, leadership, and life coach. So do reach out, davidfrankgomes.com. I will put a link down below so you can find him easily. And if you have any questions, let us know here. We will make sure they get answered. David, thank you for taking time on a Saturday to teach us about mindfulness.
This was fun. This is my first Facebook Live ever.
Woo! Wow, that's fantastic.
Kicking and screaming into the digital world.
Well, we're very grateful to have you, and love that you're teaching us about mindfulness. It is such a powerful thing to put into our daily lives. So we are very appreciative of your time and your teaching today. And yeah, reach out to him, everyone. We'll have a very mindful weekend now. All right. We're signing off of Leaders Lounge Live. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and we will be back.
Thank you.